Howdy folks, my name is Mark Mulkey and I'm the owner of WhirlyBird Aerial Services here in the Central Texas area. One of the services that we provide is called aerial mapping, and this can be used in several different industries such as construction, mining, real estate, commercial properties like shopping centers, just to name a few. Today we'll be looking at how the aerial mapping process takes place, and I'll show you the benefits of the finished product that you could use for your industry. Regardless of the industry you're in, our aerial mapping services will definitely save you time and money. Okay, so to start off with, I'm going to give you a brief explanation of how we set up these flights. Now, I have my software program open. It's a company called Drone Deploy, and in my opinion, they have probably the best mapping software out there. I've got several different flight patterns set up over here, but I want to show you this first one, the golf course, mainly because I want to point out that the properties that we fly don't have to be any specific shape or size. We can adjust the map to whatever we need to cover the land that we need to. I will go back into the thing here just to show you the oil storage plant construction. This one's a little easier to see with the grid maps and so forth of how we actually do the flying. Over here you can see that for this particular map we have our altitude set at 150 feet. We have the time up here showing that it'll take us about 19 minutes to fly it. 15 acres are being covered, and about 2 batteries necessary to fly this route. Down here you have processing estimates, and this is a part that's very important for the customer to know about because it takes a lot more time on the back end to do the work of the processing and editing than it does on the front end to fly the job. A little over 8 hours on this one. 5 gigabytes of information, about 380 photos just in this small map. One of the other things that we adjust on these flight routes is the side lap and the front lap. And this also determines how many pictures are being taken with the front lap. And the side lap is basically, as you're flying these grid patterns, every time you go down another leg, you're capturing about, on this one, 75% of pictures that you've already taken. I figured out that about 150 foot of altitude and a 75% side lap, each place on the ground, like say if you were standing in one spot right here, that spot is going to have its picture taken about 15 times. Where this becomes important is when you do the processing, all the pictures that are being squished together to make the one big photo, it's getting that much more information about that specific spot every time. And so it makes the photo have a lot higher resolution. Okay, so now let's go back to the main menus here. And I'm going to go into the surf park just real quick. I want to show you this one simply because the size is so much bigger, kind of a comparison to the other one that we were just on. This one is going to take almost 48 hours to process, 2,200 photos, and 7 batteries, and a little over an hour and a half to fly it. The other thing I wanted to point out about this is to, again, remind you just how out of date Google Maps are. This property was built up 3 or 4 years ago, and it's still not showing any of the surf park on this property. So that's just another example of Google not being current. I'm going to show you now the shopping center. This one is a really good one because it gives you, I'll be able to show you this and the map that came up after I processed everything. On this one, I flew at 150 feet. I had about 65 minutes worth of flight time, 62 acres, took me 5 batteries, a little over 30 hours to process, 1,421 photos. That's, again, those are estimates. So there may have been several more than that. I don't actually recall. This was some time ago. But when I flew this, I was able to basically park out here in the parking lot, and I'm not interrupting the flow of traffic. I'm not interrupting the flow of traffic of people or cars. And as the drone was flying, yes, there were a few people because of the altitude I was at. There were a few people that heard the drone, but it wasn't interrupting anyone. Now, going back, I'm going to take you out of this now and go to the actual map of that property. This is the map that was generated. Now, you can still see all the Google background back here, but this map here, you can see where the boundaries are by the coloring of the map and the roadway. One of the things that I immediately found on this map, and why this is so important to do sites like this, is because this right here, this is algae growing on the roof. That's not going to happen unless there's standing water on the roof. And that's never a good thing to have standing water on your roof. The people who manage this property actually told me, said, well, we don't go on the roof, so we don't know. So this is part of why flying shopping centers, especially if you get it like a big outlet mall or something like that, that can have this done I would recommend at least twice a year, just so you have that historical record and you can keep on top of changes that have been made. That would be something that would be very good to have for shopping centers like this. And it's also usable because of the 3D model that can be used. It's also very relevant as far as being able to take this 3D model and show it to prospective customers, prospective lease folks that are going to lease one of the buildings on the mall. And you can use this map to show them where everything is. Now, this is not a real good 3D map because I didn't shoot it for that purpose, but you can still show them, okay, well, here's the Petco and here's the TJ Maxx, and well, we've got this space over here that's open, and we could put a store right there. And they have a better idea of where their particular store would be, whether it's in a already existing building or not. But you can move this thing around and look at the items pretty closely. It's pretty cool feature to have. Okay, so now let's take a look at the mining side of things and how aerial mapping can work for mining concerns. This is a mine that I fly every quarter, once a quarter, and sometimes here, just not too long ago, they even had me come down and fly this bottom end of their property just for historical purposes, because this is where they do all their digging at to get the material for the mine, and they want to know year by year how much more ground they've pulled up and where they're at on that. But with this part of it, with the actual mine area, what comes about here is you can see these blue lines around all these stockpiles. These are piles of sand or rock or combination of both, and they need to know how many cubic yards they still have in these stockpiles. If I click on this one here, you'll see that this one shows that there's 5,804.7 cubic yards of material in that specific pile. And it doesn't even have to be a big pile. You can go down to these little tiny ones like this, and that was only 201 cubic yards roughly. So it doesn't matter the size of the pile. You can still figure out how much material are in those piles. And they use that to reconcile the numbers between what they have on the ground versus what they've sent out in the trucks in the past quarter. So that's what that's used for. Now I want to show you something else here with the elevation mode. That's a pretty cool mode that you can use. The elevation mode basically is showing you the highest spots, the lower spots, everything in between. The color coding on it is this very dark blue is the deepest spots, and the darker red like this, these are the higher spots. Now, because this bottom part is lower than this part here, that's why you don't see a whole bunch of dark red on top of these piles. On this one, it's a little bit taller pile, so you're still getting some of that red in there. But it also helps as far as being able to, when I'm drawing the lines, make sure that I'm getting as much on the same level of the ground as I can. And it's still, the program still factors all of that in, but it helps to get more exact measurements out of it. Okay, now the next thing I wanted to show you, I'm going to go back into the folder here, and I'm going to come over to the school district tab. This map I shot on spec for our local school district, and was able to show them several different things that they didn't know anything about. Now, again, with the mapping, it's basically the same thing, the grid pattern, flying, all of that. You'll see right here on the edges, this is where because of the way the property was, and expeditiously using less resources, I flew over the property, but I was able to actually crop that out in the photo. So the school district, when I print out the map, all they get is the school property. One of the things that I was able to do is show them how you can measure things with the area measurement tool. And you can come in here, and this gives them the area of the top of that roof, which is 1.588 acres. It's a very large building. Where that comes in handy is you can, with simple Google calculations, you can go in and type acres to square feet, put in this 1.588 acres, and it'll tell you exactly how many square feet are on top of this building. Why would that be important? Well, it'd be important if they want to replace the roof on this building, and they have contractors come out and say, okay, well, it's this big and we need this much, and they can go to their files and say, okay, well, it was actually 68,824.8 square feet of roof. So why are you telling me it's 75,000 square feet? They see what I mean? They can use that to make sure their contractors are staying in line when they're supposed to, and it gives them a better idea of how much money they're going to have to spend on roofing material to get all that done. The same kind of thing over here where the baseball diamond is. This one here, if they have to say they have to replace all of this sod, you can see where the grass is getting kind of dried out and so forth. And well, they do the same thing. They click on that, they figure it out, and it's 89,123.76 square feet of sod would be needed to replace just that part. So that's one of the things. Another thing, I was able to pick up the fact that this tarp came blowing off of here, and they needed to recover that. This was not too long after Hurricane Harvey when that happened. One of the biggest things on here that I found that I thought was quite interesting, on this retention pond down here, you can see this is where the drain goes out, correct? So this spot should be lower than this spot back here. Well, this spot itself, this one is minus 11.63 feet. That is based on where I took off with from the drone, which actually on this part of the flight, I was out in this parking lot right here. So this spot is 11.63 feet lower than where I took off from out here. Now, relative height and so forth, you see that's 11.63. Well, if you bring this down to this end, you would think this end would be higher than this end, right? It's not. It's about 8 feet lower on this end than it was down here. That's kind of a problem when it's a retention pond, because that means if this is deeper than this end's going to hold water. Well, everything that we've shown you today is designed to speed up the processes that you already use and to give you the information that you need in a much shorter time frame and at a greatly reduced price from current methods. Studies have shown that by using aerial mapping services, you can cut down man hours by 60% or more compared to traditional methods and still end up having results that are within 1 to 2% of regular land-based mapping. So whether you run a construction site, a sand and gravel pit, a golf course, or you're a realtor that sells larger properties, or even the property owner, WhirlyBird Aerial Services can accommodate you and give you a final product that you just can't get any other way. Our services are non-intrusive, as we can generally take off and land from a spot that doesn't interfere with your job site or your employees. And as a bonus, the maps we produce can also be used to print out very large wall maps, even wall murals that can cover an entire wall. Plus, our maps can also serve as a historical record of any type of property. In certain industries, including school districts and commercial property management shopping centers, our aerial mapping services can help you detect problems on the roofs that you generally won't see unless you're climbing up on the roof yourself. The measurements we can supply, whether they're linear, volumetric, or square foot or acreage, will quickly give you the information you need to order supplies for repairs, or to give you estimates on the amount of material you have in a stockpile. It can also show you the difference in elevations throughout your property, as we've shown in this tutorial. WhirlyBird Aerial Services is ready to help you do a better job in less time for less money. For more information, please feel free to call us at 512-560-2650 or email me directly at mark@whirlybirdaerialservices.com. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I look forward to hearing from you.